Today is Monday, July 20th, 2020. So tell me if I sound any different than normal. I just upgraded my Mac OS for this computer, obviously, and I'm using just the same type of screen recording software, but it does have a very drastically different look. It has just pretty much a number of options that I hadn't seen before. I actually almost recorded this video with no audio input, so that wouldn't have been great. You would have just been staring at a screen for 15 minutes and now I'm actually here and you can hear me. So today we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's betting odds. And if you don't or aren't too familiar with what the betting odds are for the 2020 election, essentially Real Clear Politics will compile the overall betting odds as to, wow, that thunder is loud, as to where they stand nationwide. Essentially, people will bet money on who they believe will win the presidency. Numbers fluctuate up and down. Donald Trump may have more, may cost more for a Donald Trump share versus a Joe Biden share, and vice versa. Essentially, people try to purchase a share for whichever candidate they believe will win the election. So, for this instance, Donald Trump has around a 36-cent share for $1. Essentially, if on election day Trump wins, those people who betted on Donald Trump right now for 36 cents will cash out with $1. But if they are wrong, they pretty much lose 36 cents a share that they put into a Donald Trump pool. So in 2016, the betting odds weren't exactly too correct. A lot of people expected Hillary Clinton to win, though a lot of data indicated that the race would be very narrow. And I mean, they projected a 6 electoral vote win for Hillary Clinton compared to her obvious loss. The election was supposed to be super close based off the data. If people had listened to that alone, it probably would have been 55 to 45. But I will say that the media definitely overplayed Hillary Clinton's chances at the election, and I think that's what really steered the entire public into believing that Hillary Clinton would absolutely win the election. Now I think that the media is playing it safe. They're not trying to overemphasize the chances for either candidate, but right now it is very clear that Joe Biden has a pretty considerable lead, not only in the betting odds, which aren't necessarily indicative of how people are going to vote, just how they believe the election will turn out, but Biden also continues to have a very strong lead nationwide. So about these betting odds, why did I make a video about this? Well, the odds have officially hit 60 cents a share. Essentially, Joe Biden broke through a barrier that neither candidate had done in the past. Looking at Donald Trump's chances, his peak was around, at this point, 52 cents a share. Joe Biden was around 43 at this point. Now, there's a very drastic increase. Biden leads over Donald Trump by a larger margin than Trump ever led over Joe Biden. At one, mid-March, Donald Trump had the lead, then Joe Biden narrowly took ahead, and Donald Trump pretty much led consistently. Despite Joe Biden dominating Donald Trump in the election polls in these on the nationwide level by 6-7%, Donald Trump always had the edge over him. It wasn't until around June when coronavirus cases started spiking back up, and this became a very prominent issue. Right around this point in time, the protests started to occur. May 25th is probably a date that will go down in history as being very impactful on the 2020, not just 2020 electorate, but America as a whole. And if we look at when the betting odds changed, right at this point, the Black Lives Matter movement was gaining traction, and the coronavirus is still and was still a very pressing issue nationwide. And since Joe Biden has pretty much dominated over Donald Trump, despite Biden's very consistent lead nationwide, Donald Trump never led Joe Biden on the national average. Donald Trump was still always the favorite. People still expected Trump to win the election despite Biden's lead. For whatever reason, they defied the data. Now, the data aligns with what we see here, not just on the nationwide betting odds, but in state-by-state odds. If we look at the predicted map, Joe Biden currently has 62 cents for one share as the presidential election winner. Trump at 40 cents. But it gets worse for Trump here. 228 electoral votes are considered safe, which means that it costs around 90 cents or more a share for, 80 cents or more a share for the Democratic Party. I believe 80, because that's 83, and it is rated safe for the Democrats. 90 cents in Virginia, 82 in Minnesota, and then 51 that are considered likely, which means there's a pretty significant amount of people that are saying Biden will win Michigan, Biden will win Pennsylvania, Biden will win Wisconsin. And the great thing about this is people do put aside partisan beliefs. The great thing about this entire system is that people are betting their own money. And when you're betting your own money, you will put aside any type of personal belief if you truly want to come out on top after Election Day. If you really want to see, even though you may want Biden to win Ohio or Trump to win Pennsylvania, you have to go ahead and take a look at what we're provided with, the primary data, the special election data, the midterm election data, the Biden versus Trump polls, the approval rating polls, a lot of data and a lot of things you have to think about when you're talking about throwing real money. Because I can just go on this screen and give you an electoral map, but actually putting down your money, I wouldn't say is more impactful, obviously, but I will say you definitely will start to drop a lot of beliefs that you may, at least a lot of personal biases. And I know some people have asked me to put up an actual sum of money towards who I believe will win the election. You see, for those people, I don't bet on things, and I'm not legally allowed to. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't. So putting that aside, looking at this electoral college numbers, not only is Biden leading by the largest amount ever on the betting odds for Trump or Biden ever today, July 20th, on the statewide basis, he's dominating. I mean, he's safe in every single Hillary Clinton state except for New Hampshire. He's safe. I mean, he's likely in a number of Trump states. In 3 of the, 3 that landed Trump the presidency. As for North Carolina, Biden actually has 59 cents a share, 63 in Florida, 62 in Arizona. And Trump's lead is dwindling in a number of states. In Iowa, it's only 58 cents. If we take a look on the 90-day streak, it was obviously a lot higher. Has since narrowed up 60, 70 cents a share for Trump in Iowa. Let's take a look at Ohio. Same type of thing here. In the state of Ohio, though it did narrow up, I will say that he still has a pretty significant lead in both Iowa and Ohio, but it actually is narrower in Ohio than it is Iowa. For Georgia, the 90-day streak as well, things narrowed up very drastically. At this point in time, Trump was still ahead of Joe Biden nationwide. So people were a lot more confident in a Trump win, especially in these state-by-state races. Texas as well. This one definitely has narrowed up. If we look at the 90-day average, Trump actually not too significant of a drop because it looks gradual, but a pretty significant one, I will say. 63 cents for a Republican share, compared to the peak at 76. I think the reason why Texas was closer based off the betting odds than Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia is just because a lot of people put a lot of thought into states such as Texas and talk about the possible changing demographics. Even if Trump is ahead nationwide, more people are probably going to agree that he still wins Texas. But, if people are still thinking Trump will absolutely carry Texas, not absolutely, but maybe a little bit more comfortable with Trump winning Texas, even though Biden is dominating nationwide compared to Iowa, Ohio, and both of those states, which went to the Democrats last time Biden was on the ballot, in Georgia, which definitely could be closer than Texas, but we probably will see both of these states narrow up on Election Day. But it definitely makes sense as to why these two states in particular may be narrowing up a lot more than Texas, but Texas has still narrowed up by a pretty considerable margin. In Alaska, this state actually has seen a random increase for the Democrats. They started off with only 9 cents a share and have since jumped up to 25 cents and at a peak 25, so 25 is pretty much the top. That's obviously not too important. It's 3 electoral votes. It won't make or break the election for either Trump or Biden, but I will say that the fact that Alaska has now narrowed up could be pointing to signs that some other states might as well. Because as we take a look around this country, Joe Biden seems to be solidifying his lead, not only on the polling map, but also where people are throwing their money. And then if you look at the likely characterizations, that means people are very solid in their projections that Trump will lose the 3 states that he carried in 2016 and not be able to flip New Hampshire. If we look across, Missouri and Indiana are seeing a little bit of a decrease in terms of their GOP shares, but they still are considered safe. If it moves under 80 cents, it is possible. South Carolina is right at 80, so it could move under. But for the rest of the states, we probably won't see too many shifts in terms of their statewide races. But I think it is significant to note that Trump was leading in states such as Florida. He was since obviously ousted as the leader in the map there. In North Carolina, Trump was also the leader as well for the same amount of time. Again, right as the protests started happening, Trump started to lose his lead in a number of these states. In the state of Arizona, actually on the 90-day average, Trump has not led, but if we look at all of the data, Trump did lead at a point in time in Arizona prior to, I think, March. If we look over at some other states, let's go ahead and see. I know that Trump wasn't exactly ahead in some of these states. He was always underwater to Biden in these Rust Belt states, but the lead went from, 61 cents for a Democratic share all the way up to 75 cents. That's pretty significant. Not only here, but in Michigan and Wisconsin. If we take a look at Wisconsin, looking at the 90-day trend, yes, obviously Biden was ahead. He's always been leading here in terms of the data, but it went from 59 cents to 72. So taking a look at all of that, Joe Biden seems to be outperforming his numbers day after day. And despite the presidential election polls, I guess you could say narrowing up, but not really. I mean, pretty much Biden has kept an 8-point lead nationwide. It fluctuates to 9. But other than that, Biden's pretty much leading as much as he's comfortable with, and an 8.6% lead is nothing to laugh at. Yes, this is narrowly moving down, but if we go ahead and take a look at whoa, this is weird. I did not know they had this. Okay, we'll talk about this some other time because this actually gives us some pretty interesting information. I love this, actually. Thanks, RCP. But if we look at the overall betting odds, despite Biden narrowly moving down 0.3%, 0.2% after a week, Biden's numbers are still continuing to increase. So people are getting a lot more careful with their projections in some of these states, but also a lot more certain that Biden will be the winner after Election Day. So with 62 cents a share and 40 cents a share for Biden and Trump respectively, that's pretty much how these numbers end as of today. Now, obviously, Biden's numbers could go down if he has a gaffe or if he chooses the wrong vice presidential candidate, but it is very possible Joe Biden continues his increase. He did go down from, around July 4th time period down to only 56 cents, which actually is not something to laugh at, but has since regained that momentum and looks like he might be on track to even top the 60 cents a share, which is the first time that either candidate has reached this entire campaign season. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't know why I can't talk today. Maybe because I have no idea. I'm pretty tired anyway. Please consider subscribing on the left if you haven't already, and check out our Instagram and Twitter. Let's Talk Elect for Instagram and LT Elections for Twitter. On your screen, there should be a video and then a playlist for my 2020 election nights. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.